Yo, what the hell's up? Welcome back to Reviews with Jake, where I just got done watching We Bury the Dead. And with it, we also bury the old graphics as they're officially outdated with the new setup here. Onwards and upwards to 2026 and beyond. I was very intrigued to see this movie. It looked like a very interesting, unique take on the zombie subgenre, which seems to be like an interesting new little theme going on here for January 2026 with a new 28 Years Later coming out in just a couple weeks. I know society kind of cashed out on the whole zombie thing with the Walking Dead craze and all, but for me personally, I'm a Resident Evil fan, so zombies never get old to me. And upon watching this movie, I think my feelings towards it are pretty mixed. Let's start with the things that I know for certain, which I enjoyed coming from a production standpoint. The production design for this movie was fantastic. I thought the post-apocalyptic world that this movie takes place in speaks volumes. It feels like the environments tell a very intricate story about the people that once inhabited this land before all hell broke loose. I also thought that the sound design was equal parts impressive. The soundscape of someone walking into a new dangerous environment step for step. It felt like every noise was alive and a possible threat, and the sound of the teeth grinding and the jaws cracking of these zombies here just sounded as unnerving as it sounds like as I describe them here. The use of the vibrant colored light was also a nice touch, especially with its sparing uses. I do feel like a lot of filmmakers nowadays get very self-indulgent, with every single scene having this very stylized, vibrant colored light, like every single room in their movie and their story being told takes place in a synthwave music video. But this particular movie, I thought that they handled it nice. It was a nice medium where not every single room has to be stylized and cool. That kind of stuff will take me personally out of a story, but I felt like here, it just kind of used it a little bit here and there when it happened. It was a nice to see. What was also a nice to see was some great zombie makeup and gore, kind of a requirement in this subgenre. I thought they all looked gruesome, everything was gritty and gross, and it felt like all very familiar, like you're watching a zombie movie, while simultaneously having its own little spice of flavor. This unique flavor mostly comes from the context around the zombies here, which I felt personally was very unique to this subgenre. It felt like the zombies and the explanation why they exist in this world, it was a very compelling take that I don't think I've ever seen before. And I gotta say, I really enjoyed the first half of this film. I thought that it was masterfully paced for the 90-minute film that it was in the first half. I thought they were giving us little nuggets here and there, strategically placed to not only build up this world in the context of the zombies that populate it, but also the characters that we're going to be following throughout this short runtime. I thought it was incredibly well done and well paced in the beginning. It didn't linger on anything, but it also didn't rush through it. It kind of felt like a perfect poster child of how an effective movie can be built in 90-minute runtime. It was great. I really appreciated it in the beginning. But then we hit a certain point about halfway through the film where a certain character is introduced in particular, and it felt like the film kind of flipped itself on its head. It really lingers on what feels like, as you're watching it, a very out-of-place side quest while also introducing new concepts and ideas around the context of the zombies that I don't feel like were properly explored in the 90-minute, well, half of that, 45 minutes we had to chew on these ideas. It's kind of hard to tiptoe around this without spoilers, but it felt like the first half of the film knew what it was, and it handled it perfectly in terms of the pacing and the amount of stuff that you can fit into a 90-minute film. Then in the second half, it just starts to throw out ideas and everything that could have worked had they had the proper runtime to explore them. Like after seeing the second half of the movie, I felt like this probably should have been a little longer. It also had a lot of tonal inconsistencies with weird music selections at odd points in the story, as well as hits of humor and comedy that just felt super out of place. Both of those things kind of reinforce the identity crisis that this film kind of felt like it went through at about the halfway mark. On a more nitpicky note, I also thought that some of the VFX on some of the wide shots of the post-apocalyptic land involving the sky and the smoke that inhabits the air, I also thought that some of that looked a little cheap. It almost felt like they just took a color wash and just kind of did a gradient overlay over it to add a little color and texture, and it just didn't really look very convincing. It was odd. All in all, color me shocked that I'm not reporting to you right now telling you how great this movie is based on how much I really enjoyed the first half of it. But I guess at the end of the day, January horror is always going to January. That's not to say the movie is meritless. There are definitely some very strong aspects here, and it's a super quick watch. Hell, if it pops up on a streaming service that I happen to have an active subscription for, I'll watch it again, and maybe some of those head-scratching decisions that they made in the second half of the film, maybe they make a little more sense the second time around. But that is just me. What do you think? Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments below. And make sure you subscribe to this channel to stay up to date with new reviews coming real soon. Stay safe. Thanks for checking in.